When you look at world systems, a good criteria to evaluate their effectiveness would be to ask who benefits from their agenda. And so I'll just use two examples that were in the news this week. One of them is Obama in the Indian Times. Obama acknowledges the decline of U.S. dominance. And in the article, Obama talks about how the U.S. is no longer in this predominant position, economic position that, we've enjoyed since post-World War II. And within this article, he says that the United States better start buckling up and realizing that they've got to compete with these other global powers. And what he doesn't describe is the long road that got America to the point where we no longer have any manufacturing and we no longer have an infrastructure where we can basically be self-sufficient. This was signed away, if you will, by treaties like the GATT Treaty under Clinton, under President Clinton, where we basically funded Chinese infrastructure and promoted Chinese industry and supported the capital flight of manufacturing out of the United States to third world countries. And so we can trail this back and say, well, who benefited from that? And it wasn't the middle class, and it wasn't the working people of the United States. It was a small group of capital elitists who benefited from capital flight to very cheap labor markets. And you can do your own homework and find out that, in fact, the U.S. decline as a superpower, or even as a viable, self-sustaining country, has been a manufactured decline, benefiting a small group of elites. And we, another example of who benefits is the, and this is just one out of, this is just one, almost like a random example. There's so many that I could choose from, but I'll just take two, which is this is an article that appeared this week. The World Bank is quietly funding a massive corporate water grab. And this is something the World Bank has been involved with for quite a while, which is to, it has its own private sector funding arm called the International Finance Corporation. And that finance corporation has just recently bought up water rights in Eastern Europe for 139 million euros. Now, this is something that the World Bank and this International Finance Corporation, which is all privately owned, by the way, as is the UN, the UN is a private corporation too. They have a history of doing this, going in and buying up water rights. And the this particular company that they bought in Eastern Europe has a business model that is, quote, maximizing profits and it's not a long-term investment. So the World Bank, through a proxy corporation, is funding, is dropping money on a subsidiary company to buy up water rights. So who benefits on this count? A very small group of highly informed, if you will, elites who structure international policy to suit their revolving door bank accounts, where they go in and out of public-private organizations and reap incredible profit. So these are just two examples of asking who benefits. And when the idea of an equal money system is brought forth, immediately the shackles go up on people's backs and they think, someone's going to benefit. This couldn't possibly work, or this couldn't possibly be inaugurated without following the model that is prevalent in all organizations that we seem to see in this world. So we can't imagine an organization, a group of people, actually doing something for the benefit of all, what is best for all, rather than for the benefit of a few at the top. And what does this show us? This shows us that we lack self-trust in our ability to create an alternative reality. So all of the talk about, don't be negative, stay positive, means nothing if you're not willing to take a risk of actually taking some responsibility for this world. Taking responsibility for implementation of a system that benefits all is actually the most positive thing, if you want to put it that way, you can do. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to make that point of examining outcome, structure, systems from a point of view of who benefits. And you can't base it on what they say. I mean, you can certainly, the European Union's a great example, or globalization. If you go on what people say about it, or if you go on what politicians say about it, it all sounds wonderful. And it sounds like, the boyfriend that tells you how beautiful you are, and meanwhile, he's got another girlfriend. This is the kind of situation we have. We have a media that is controlled by the same interests that benefit from the systems put in place, where we're told that they are benefiting all, when in fact they aren't. They're benefiting just a few. Especially things like, the World Bank and the UN, where we have a post-war society after World War II who gave consent to these organizations, believing that they would serve the common good. And so there's a natural skepticism that has arisen based on the post-war era, where we've seen that these organizations have not lived up to their charters, not even pretending to. And in some cases, it's our own fault for not reading those charters more carefully. But at any rate, I think it's a good litmus test. I think it's a good yardstick to ask yourself who benefits, and it's an equality equation, if you will, to apply to any organization or group of people that say they want to implement change. Thanks.